Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying I am not confident in my pick at all, based on what I just looked at the stats. So let's go over real quick. We have Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Boston Bruins. And let's jump right into it. So getting out of here, going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's move these guys out of the way as well. Boom, boom. Oop, there you go. Move those out of the way. Anyways, so okay. Again, I'm skeptical. I have a Toronto hat on. I don't know how good I feel about this pick. It's nerve wracking. But let's run through it. Let's run through the numbers. Let's run through the numbers because that's all we can do right now. Um, I'll show you the numbers. I'll tell you my thoughts, and we'll go through the pick. So, you have a monster season by Austin Matthews. I mean, just phenomenal. Look at that, 81 games played, 107 points. I mean, clear, just like doing great. 69 goals. I mean, come on, 69 goals. What a nice number. Nice. William Nylander put up 40 goals. Marner put up 26. Tavares putting up 29. I mean, Bertuzzi putting up 21. I know he had a slow start, but you got a lot of good depth scoring if you look at the Leafs. I mean, look at even Yarncroke, only 52 games, still got 10 goals. Robertson, rookie, 14. McMahon come out of nowhere, with 15 goals, 24 points. Nyes, of course, the college second rounder. Again, Bertuzzi signed a 1 year contract with the Leafs this past year. So I think you have a lot of good players here. But of course, we all know this as the core four, right? You're talking about Matthews, Nylander, Marner, Tavares, and really most people include Riley in there as well. But he's a defenseman, so they don't really count him in the same. So you have a lot of great players here, a lot of great pieces. The goal is can you can have all the right tools, but you need the right person to put them all together and have them work together. And it's worked out really well for them. I mean, they have 46 wins, third in the Atlantic, mind you. Not too far off from the Bruins, I don't believe. 47. They have 47 wins. 46 wins. I think it just came over some overtime stuff as well. But overall, it was fairly close in the Atlantic. But of course, Boston somehow just doing what Boston does and be able to get a similar production they did out of Bergeron and Krejci, who retired this past year. But we're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, they're a great team. Made some good acquisitions. Picking up Labushkin as a good defenseman. If you're running through the list right here, you can see they have Gregor Giordano came back from injury. Picked up Reeves on a 3 year deal in the offseason. Benoit's playing amazingly. Traded for Dewar. Traded for Edmondson as well. So there's a lot of great players here that they have a lot of good depth here. And of course, goaltending. Going back to goaltending, they were looking to rely on. Well, it looked like at the start of the year that Wool potentially could have taken over the net from Samsonov because Samsonov was not playing well. Actually, had to clear waivers, mind you. They put Samsonov, who is now bounced back. Save percentage is not looking great, but in the last 10 games, I believe it was, he was looking so much better. Looking like I think it was like a .913 if I remember correctly. But again, he's not looking good overall in the season. But I think again, if you go back to the last couple of games, actually we'll just open up his profile. I can go to his in the last. I mean, you can see right here, not looking amazing in those last sense. But if you go to his last, so the last 5 games, 3 wins. Not maybe I was wrong. I might be wrong on this one. Samsonov is starting. I do remember now. They were talking about Samsonov not looking that great in the end for the last couple of games. But they also have Wool they can go to. They also have Jones. Wool's been injured a ton this year, so Jones is kind of maybe your better. Goaltending is definitely lacking on them. So the thing is, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, you can get pretty good production throughout the lineup. So they have about 3 good lines for that. They don't really have a shutdown line, unfortunately. Going for the defense, you have Riley. They're actually sitting Brody. Brody was a very common pairing. They're actually sitting him. I don't know who Riley's playing with, but they're doing Riley. And you have Labushkin. You have Edmondson, who's giving that tougher aspect. I imagine on the fourth line, they're also going to start Reeves because it is Boston. That is one of the biggest hurdles you're trying to get over with Toronto is Boston because on the season, they didn't win a game against them, right? So that's the issue is that on the season, they did not win a game. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so what makes you think that Toronto can beat them in the playoffs now? But mind you, again, we did see that huge production on all their guys and everything. Look at me, 69 goals. I mean, That's extremely impressive. And so you have to consider that. Again, you have tougher guys, right? You know, you have Bertuzzi that's a little higher up in the lineup to play a tough guy. You have Domi, you have Reeves, you have Edmondson. So there is a lot more toughness on this team that can kind of hold up against the Bruins. But when we jump, let's jump over the Bruins and kind of go over a couple of things. Like, again, the biggest aspect to me of them is the goaltending, is whether they can get reliable goaltending. We know they can produce. But again, the goaltending is going to be huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, going over to the other team who they are versing, they definitely don't have an issue with goaltending. Goaltending is one of the biggest. They're honestly, it's probably the best goaltending tandem in the league. I mean, look at their stats: 44 games played by Swayman, 40 goals with Allmark, or 40 games played with Allmark. Similar wins, 25-22. Same losses, similar overtime losses. I mean, and look at the goals against per game, or goals against average: 2.53, 2.58. Very similar, playing as an amazing tandem. Look at that's goals against per game. That's the save percentage, almost identical. These guys, I mean, look at goals against, almost identical. Saves against, almost identical. These guys are amazingly consistent. You see that the team plays consistently behind them as well, which is huge, because you will see that some teams have less confidence in their goalies, right? We saw that with the Red Wings. They played worse. They played worse behind Alex Lyon, but his numbers were better, and they won with James Reimer, but his numbers were worse. So the team has to have confidence in their goalie. If something slips by and they have a breakaway or something like that, they have to have confidence in their goalie. And you can see that with both goalies, which is huge in the playoffs, Boston has confidence in both of them. And I imagine they will start Swayman as their first game. And last year they made the mistake of not playing when Allmark got injured. They still played Allmark, even had an extremely confident goalie in Swayman. As you can see this now, they have an amazing confident tandem. So I can definitely see, because the Boston Bruins, they split the net throughout the whole year. I can absolutely see them doing the same thing in the playoffs and giving guys one off, one on, and going from there. And again, it does look like Swayman's probably going to be the goalie of the future, and probably their last time being together as a tandem, because it looks like there was a trade for Allmark. So, but that definitely didn't stop them from performing for the last half of the season very well. Going over their players, a huge issue for me with the players side of the Boston Bruins is you have one guy who is holding majority of these points, right? You can see Pastrnak with 110 points, 47 goals, very impressive. Marchand putting up 29, Coyle putting up 25, Zacha putting up 21. But then it drops. I mean, the next guy has about half as many goals as McAvoy, and that's your defenseman. And just this gigantic point drop is a huge issue for me. Because if you can find a way to just shut down Pastrnak, mind you, the Leafs don't have a shutdown line per se. So the issue is that you have a guy that you're just relying on, but there's still some production as well. But Pastrnak is your goal leading guy, right? And so with him on the power play, you got to watch for him on the right side. And I mean, look, he even says right here to points. Pastrnak, goals, Pastrnak, assists, Pastrnak, right? Like, it's honestly, it's very impressive, and they do have some good depth with like Poitras. Lindholm is a great defenseman, right? Heinonen is working out well with them as well. There is a good amount of production as well throughout the lineup, but again, it kind of comes down to, are they able to outproduce? Are they able to outproduce the Toronto Maple Leafs here? Because to me, the Toronto Maple Leafs are no doubt going to produce, and the biggest. So you kind of have the opposites in my head, right? You have where the Leafs don't necessarily rely on just. I mean, they're going to rely on Matthews for a lot of goals, right? But I think they can get more depth scoring, right? And I think their defense is fairly similar. I think Boston maybe have a leg up on that one, but goaltending is absolutely way better for the Boston Bruins, and definitely going to be the issue with trying to get that production. But to me, I think. And when you're looking at the stats, I'm actually going to go move off stats, and I'm going to go on mentality. The mentality is they haven't beat Boston this year. What makes you think you can beat them in the playoffs? The mentality is Boston has beat you. Of the last 6 playoff series you had with them, Boston's beaten you every time. So in my head, or in the heads of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the roster, they talked about this in the documentary they did the Toronto Maple Leafs, is that what makes you think you can beat them? There's the demons of the organization. It's literally you're looking at the Boston Bruins as your Goliath. You're like, what makes you think you can beat them? It's a mentality thing, and I think I do believe this series is going to 7, but in my head, because of how dominant Boston has been, I still see Boston as being the winner. I know I'm wearing a Toronto Maple Leafs hat. I'm not buying a Boston hat yet because I don't like them. Let me phrase. I'm collecting one of each hat for each team. I like Toronto better than Boston. Boston is as a Red Wings fan. I don't like Boston. Them and Chicago are going to be one of the two. Them, Florida, and Boston, or in Chicago, are going to be some of the last hats that I get. I'm good. I got a plethora of hats. I got Kraken here. I got Anaheim here. I got Sharks. I got Wild. I got a ton of other hats. But to me, I just see Boston getting in their head. I think Boston's a tougher team. It's a tougher mentality. I think they're going to wear down the Toronto Maple Leafs. And while they did go out and they get tougher players like Lyubushkin and Edmondson, as well as picking up Domi and Bertuzzi in the offseason, I just don't, and as well as Reeves, I don't see them being able to out muscle and out power. I think that Boston will have that grind them down mentality, and Leafs might win the first 2 games, but I can see Boston coming back swinging. We're going 2 games to the Leafs, 3 games to Boston, 1 to the Leafs, 1 to Boston, Game 7, and also the Boston Bruins will also have home advantage in this whole thing as well. So you have to consider that they're going to have last change. So when they put out the Matthews line, Boston's going to respond with a shutdown line, right? Or when they put out a 4th line, you know that Boston's going to respond with a Pasternak line. And I just don't know if the lines they have available for the Leafs are going to be able to shut down the Boston Bruins. So let me know what your thoughts are. I have Boston in 7. Good luck, Toronto. I hope you get past them. But again, I don't even see if the Leafs make it past the first round, which I don't think they will. I don't see them making past the second round. But if you want to know, I have Boston 7. But if you want to know what's going to happen in the second round, stick around, hit like and subscribe, and I will be doing a preview of the second round as well of whoever comes out of it. But again, for me, it's Boston in 7. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, comment, an emoji. Right now, my current favorite emojis that people have commented are the poop swirl and the chicken. I don't know why. I think the chicken is hilarious. So anyways, hit like, subscribe, and love you.